Nice. How was your trip, Mike?
It was good. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah. Hi. Hi, Pat.
Thanks, Martha.
Sure thing.
I forgot we had this thing.
Yeah, Sarah's supposed to be coming. Ryan.
Oh, I see
And
Sarah.
Michael. Sarah?
Sarah? I see Sarah right here.
Oh, when you're looking this way, I can't tell which one you're seeing.
We need 4 for a quorum, huh? Three?
Because we had 5 with alternates for this meeting. This is.
John, me, Kenny, Michael, Seth, Sarah, and Brian.
Right, but there's only 5 that are considered members, and then we have 2 alternates,
Oh, okay.
which is nice because we only 3 for a quorum, which is kind of why we designed it that way.
Sounds good.
So that helps.
So we have Martha, Lisa, and Andy so far.
Yeah.
Hi, Andy.
Got mute.
Hello.
Hey,
Just wave. So you made some paper, you made the paper on some, when you get John Friedman and John Kane to both agree to something.
I know, I must be doing something right. Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think we're all set with that, I hope, so. Looks like we're-
What's that?
Sarah's phone.
Oh. Well, we have good news. I'll talk quickly since I see only in-house people, but we had gotten, I didn't want to make you nervous. We got an audit of our SBA
that's something new.
PPP. And, well, that was something else, but we got a full audit of our forgiveness application,
Okay,
which I worked with Mike Bucci on, and we made it very simple. We applied on such and such a date. We applied for this amount based on this Schedule A. I mean, I'll show it to you, but it was approved, so.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it would be approved, but with our other SBA relationships, I wanted to be sure it was not a question. That guy wrote a nice note back,
yeah.
but we shoveled it on him too, so. So they locked me up when I was there.
Oh, they did it.
They put me in the bubble room jail.
Oh, I missed that bubble room.
Well, I know you said you went there.
Yeah, but all the time,
You know,
all the time, whenever I could convince them to take me.
And then we froze at the Lucky Duck.
Oh, nice.
They were pumping sand on the beaches down there.
Oh,
You said that.
really?
I
Oh,
mean,
how's the
huge
shelling? Are there-
pipes. Look at the size of those
Oh my
pipes.
God.
Yeah.
Are there any shells left these days? or they-
Yeah. But
This is on the West Coast?
yeah,
Sanibel could have to
Put
do
you over
that.
here, Sarah, so
Yeah,
you're on
that's it.
camera.
the inside, of
Oh, the bubble room.
it. And then
Aw.
they have the tables.
Clients
Oh
have
my
all the
gosh,
stuff in
What was
oh
it?
my gosh.
Over at
Oh,
Monahan.
Yeah.
I love that it's still going.
And the fact that so is the other place.
And Lucky Duck.
One
And a lot of those places, right?
They tore down Tim's something or other. There was like a
Oh,
shack.
Our first time.
Tim's.
Yeah, the Tim.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
well,
Tim-
Yeah, what town
Tim's
is
something
it?
or other.
It's in Stockport, I guess.
Huh.
right
And then we
down
drove
the
over to
road.
Miami to my cousin's for
Very few
dinner.
houses
Oh.
there.
And then we
Oh,
went
they got the
to
last of the-
the conference.
right
You know, these
on
conferences are tough.
Oh, you made a little.
Right by my
Tough
client,
work, Andy. You know, when you,
Rounds auto sales.
3-day
Yeah,
banking
yeah,
conference
Yeah, they're right the next
yeah.
house.
at the
It is a cute
Breakers.
little
But
house.
Yes, yeah, someone has to do it, so.
Some of those houses are nice.
But I
other
got-
ones are
15 hours of CLE.
That's nice, yeah, good.
Oh my goodness. You're good for a while.
But you gotta get 22 or 24 every 2 years.
Probably put it back. Okay.
I've never been to the Breakers, but what are they famous for? Their what? Bloody
I don't
Mary?
know. They're famous because it
They're
was
famous for their prices.
built by the
We're
railroad.
missing. we-
Yes.
we're-
You know,
that long.
John here? No, John can't make it.
the guy took
And Seth
advantage.
can't make it,
The
right?
guy took advantage of all the debtors that got sent to Florida in those days who didn't have jobs and put them to work.
I'll call
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
How are you? I guess I can take this off with the.
She has a loan closing going on
I'm
right down
gonna
the hall.
pick up a check in a few minutes.
Oh,
Oh, good.
Wow.
Well, I'm glad we could schedule this for
Convenient.
your
Yes.
convenience.
Yeah.
I've had a closing month, I think, for a couple of months now.
Oh my gosh.
So not to be
Hey.
political, but they
Oh,
said
yeah.
that there would be a minority woman president in 2024. And it wouldn't be
Ooh.
Kamala Harris, it would be Nikki
Oh, boy.
Haley.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
all right, yeah, you should.
But
Hey,
they,
would you be in a position to call into the loan committee meeting?
Oh, here's your card,
That's nice.
Yeah.
right?
Oh, Mike is here.
Oh,
And then Seth
never mind.
would call in.
Never mind. I don't
Maybe
need
we'll
to.
get you on
You
camera.
can if you want to. You're more than welcome to. but We were short one for them. Nope. All right, get better. I see ya.
That's good.
He's taking a little medicine, he broke out of the rash.
I just sent him an email.
Oh, but we're good, right?
No,
Right?
he's taking a little
Okay,
medicine.
great.
Well, I sent Mike
I
and
don't
I
know
said.
what.
A reminder.
Thanks.
So office troubles.
Yep.
He's gonna have a hip replacement. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure.
how are you?
Yeah, I took
Good.
sulfa-
Mike, how are you?
When I took sulfa, I broke out in rash.
No, did you?
Yeah.
The last 2 hours not getting any work
Who
done.
wants to chair this thing?
So moved, second, all in favor.
Michael, you want to chair us?
What's
Want to chair the meeting? We'll break you in.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Call the
That's
meeting.
okay.
order. You
It's
go down
okay, we'll
down to the
have
items on it?
So. How do we start?
Call the meeting to order, and I ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, so
I'll
like
make
to
that
call
motion.
it, call meeting in order.
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes from the October 18th meeting.
Second,
And then you have to, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Carry.
So, Carried.
Okay. If you're uncomfortable doing this, let me know.
No, I
Okay.
break me in, that's fine. It's fine.
So item 2 is portfolio review, and Martha, or we'll do that. I'm not sure who, are you doing that?
Martha's gonna do it today.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, let's go through this. The first one we see on the list is 711 County Route 3, which is the pond. Lauren and I paid a visit to the pond last week. We collected a check for both of their loans while we were there, so they are current. They're very busy, by the way, turning away clients, in fact. But they've had to slowly raise their prices, you know, from the previous owner. Yep, exactly. And they have a lot of clients who have been clients for many, many years, so they're being very careful there. And of course, they have debt, you know, they just purchased a business, but I think they're doing relatively well. And it's always a balancing act, you know, with a small business, but I was very encouraged by the visit.
Me too.
Was that the loan that was habitually like 30 minutes behind?
They have been, 30 days behind, for a while. And so as of today, they're current.
That was
It
good.
was a whole difficulty of closing, and then COVID hit. And,
It was terrible timing.
yeah,
And then there were so many different rules where you couldn't serve alcohol unless they ordered
Right.
food. And so you sit down at your table and they say, you have to take your food order first before you take your drink order. It was just a nightmare for them.
The other thing is they've had to make improvements to the property. Some were unexpected, such as the septic system. But some were cosmetic and in terms of lighting and refinishing the bar, it's very attractive inside. I think that the improvement, they haven't touched the banquet room yet, but they do plan to. And they've also refinished the outside deck. They have a lot of people eating outside. Yeah, I think that, I think they're on the right track. And then we get to train time. I spoke to the owner a week ago. The potential buyer has backed out, so that is very disappointing. They kept the ad running though, and so she has a list of other people who have expressed interest, and she's just going to start going down that list. I did tell her that the 2 loans are in arrears to the tune of $187.23. She said she would send a payment for each of.
We got a check today.
We got the check. Oh, thank you, Lisa. So it's a struggle. She's continuing to look for a buyer, and we'll just continue to work with her during that process. And so on the next page, we see the other 711 County Route 3, and that's the one that is current, and Alula Woodworks is also current. We're in pretty good shape.
So that, everything that's got a little asterisk next to it.
Yep.
Needs an approval, so you need to ask for a motion to approve that. And a second,
Okay, motion to approve the portfolio review.
I'm a-
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. It's just Sarah and I.
Oh, okay, I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, that's why I keep looking around.
You're doing
That's okay.
fine, but yeah,
Yeah, so that makes it more.
now you get it.
understood.
Did you
Yeah.
say Seth was on the phone there or something?
No.
He actually did call in and weigh in on these loans, and we'll give you his
Okay,
comments. Yeah.
great, thanks.
And then so what do I say, Dan? So,
So it was Terry.
Carrie. Never original. All right, next on the list is My Italian Friends Place Incorporated for their loan requests.
Yeah.
And that would be Lauren.
Yeah, so I'm gonna speak to that one. So hopefully you all received the loan request that we sent out on Friday morning. If not, that's okay. But My Italian Friends Place is a project of Joe Moriali. He's opening this a sandwich and coffee shop, and it's at 9310 Brook Avenue. You may have seen the old Red Barn Seafood Market is no longer red. That is part of the updating that Joe's kind of in the midst of right now. He co-purchased this property with Roy Brown of Iron Horse Cigar Depot. Cigar Depot is going to relocate to that space from South 7th Street. Separate spaces, but they'll be sharing the property. Joe's vision for My Italian Friends Place is a spot that's really a go-to place for Italian sandwiches, bagels and bagel sandwiches, some salads as well, and good quality coffee and espresso drinks. In terms of kind of who is this for, and who does he see that consumer as? He's envisioning employees of CMH and other city businesses, students who are right there at Questar 3 and some others in the area, residents of the Falls who really don't have much right there. Of course, the cigar shop patrons, will sort of cross promote each other pretty organically. And then, of course, just travelers and kind of passersby on Route 66. Anyone traveling by. And I will say, at first in my mind, I was kind of thinking, okay, who really is this person? And I'm remembering, my own husband, who's an attorney in the district attorney's office, says to me pretty regularly, it's just not many places to go grab a quick, convenient, affordable bite in Hudson at lunchtime. So, reasonably priced and reasonably healthy is something that he's kind of looking to fill. And in terms of price point, accessible, right? So he's looking at places like Bagel Time, Laura Vito's, Scally's, and Dunkin' Donuts as sort of the comps in terms of sort of price. He is ambitious. He wants to really quickly achieve. Everybody wants to be profitable, but he particularly wants to quickly achieve profitability. His goal for the business is 25% net profit margin within that first year, and then he wants to expand into other markets. Other demographics that would make sense for that type of business. In terms of the financials, actually, quick word just on Joe. He's been involved with Hudson Valley Fish Farm Fisheries, as you may or may not know, and he's run 2 pizzerias, successful pizzerias in New Jersey. He also owned and operated a mortgage bank for a couple of decades. He's going to be overseeing the place with his son John, who really will be managing and running the day-to-day on-site. John has experience at dine-in restaurants. And they're both super excited about this project. In terms of the numbers, his goals in terms of revenue for year 1 and beyond, we think it's reasonable, with a healthy pinch of ambition, which we like. We are comfortable in terms of his assets. He's got significant assets and income. That's in terms of his home, his automobiles, healthy savings and IRA and credit looks all good. His startup costs are 200K, total startup costs. That covers pretty significant interior and exterior renovations that he's in the midst of right now. He is personally putting in 150,000. He's looking for 50,000 from CEDC. We would make this a 25 and 25 SBA loan and CEDC loan. Good job creation, several part-time jobs, a couple of full-time jobs just from the get-go. And what we like, of course, is that he's already made some really significant, substantial improvements to the property. He's knee-deep in it. He's leveled the parking lot. He can now accommodate 40 cars. He's putting quite considerable personal assets into this project, as I mentioned, and he's really hyper-focused on profitability. So we like all of that.
You mentioned he and Roy bought the property, they own it.
They own it. They co-own it.
But they don't co-own this business, do they?
They do not, and they purchased it through a separate LLC.
So they rent his separate business rents it from himself and Roy.
Exactly, and he'll start paying rent at
Sure.
the 6th month.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. A lot of red flags on this one for
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
I wonder, what is his involvement with Hudson Valley Fish Farm?
He's an employee or an independent contractor relationship.
Yeah.
He works for the family that owns and operates the fish farm.
Okay.
John Nye, is it? Nay, and his father.
It just seems to me, we don't have any credit rating or anything on John, and then his income, like right now, his loans are 50% of his income.
You mean his outstanding personal loans?
Yeah. So, and then I'm kind of questioning just 2 full-time employees for the place. I don't know that much about business. And then it's great they're going to contribute to local charities and stuff, but on their profit and loss, it's not on there. There's no figure for contributions.
Is he open for breakfast and lunch?
He is.
Yes,
He's gonna be
it's
open
the
every
food.
day of the week, year round.
Oh, they'll
So,
have employees. He's spoken.
Yeah.
At dinner time too, 3 meals?
Not dinner.
Not dinner.
He'll do 6 to 3.
And then what's the separation with the cigar store? Because the cigar store will be an afternoon, evening thing. So are they?
Yeah, so I
are they
think the
divided?
overlap there is clearly, not in the evening, but if somebody's in there or on a weekend, sort of like a midday cigar or
Mhm.
mid-afternoon.
I
there's
think they can
overlap.
also supply platters if people are going in as a group in the evening,
Work around it.
And he indicated that if if it appeared that there was a market to stay open, he'd.
Sure.
I know I stopped at times at that pizza place across from the gas station in Greene County on the way home. Yeah, 'cause they're open till 8. And, they have one counter person and one pizza maker.
Mhm.
So, and I think he did talk about having part-time people.
He did,
At heart,
yeah.
at,
Yeah. He said 2 full-time and 2 part-time.
Yeah.
And that's just a start.
I was
So,
gonna try to
with
go by
growth
and see how
will-
separate the cigar store is, because that smell can be really off.
And that was a point in the business plan that they're definitely gonna be, separate spaces. The eating
Yeah.
is not intended to mix with that cigar smoke.
And then they said the population, it's all along this 65,000. Columbia County population is
Right.
59, and Hudson hasn't been 10,000 in 15, 20 years. Hudson is.
7,000,
no,
69,
It's under 6.
68.
Hudson is under 6, and
6.
the county's under 60.
Yeah.
So I think
he
they,
might be looking at Hudson Greenport. I'm not sure, people always know where the line is.
Mhm.
With the Hudson postal, zip code.
I guess so. I just
Because
get-
the location is sort of right
Well, we
there
get,
at
it's
the
easy,
edge,
if
but
you
that's
want, we
big
can
one.
get it's not expensive to get a report that shows how many people within 5 miles, 10 miles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think, I found it misleading, and they don't mention McDonald's or Burger King or everything else is right there.
Yeah, I think he's seeing his food as a little bit of a notch up
Sure.
from the McDonald's or the Burger King,
I can
but it
see,
is right there.
I can see him getting a following out of the falls.
I can too.
I think you brought up, more Vito's and Dunkin' Donuts because he's doing bagels, like people who want the Italian food aren't the people that are going to McDonald's, you know what I mean? So his main competition is more Vito's, which definitely was like already on my radar, but then I see the bagels and bagel time and stuff like that.
Is it hot food too or not? Meatballs?
He's gonna have certain, hoagies or grinders, I think there's different regional names that are hot. So like envision like a
Yes.
meatball parm
Yeah.
Well, he was-
or melted mozzarella.
He was very verbose in telling us a real sandwich, like you get in Brooklyn.
He also was careful to say it wasn't a typical Italian deli to start. It was sandwiches and bagels, but he could expand into prepared foods later on.
And then he says there are many high school students looking for work. And I'm just wondering where he's been.
Well,
Because every place you go into here, there's a big sign up. They need help.
it's
So-
interesting, there was a report in the New York Times yesterday about how many high school students are starting to get jobs because of that. The fact that, as you keep going deeper into the pool of
Yeah.
available workers and there are none there,
Right.
that, I could see he could get some after-school kids.
Yeah.
But, he's not gonna.
But they stop at 3.
Oh, it'll be summers and weekends
Weekends,
only.
yeah.
It's just like Culture Cream. She's now desperately looking for somebody over 16, as she put it.
Yeah. And I think to the point someone raised earlier, if he's seeing, certain, a demand for kind of an early dinner or, oh, on my way home, I'm gonna grab, something to take or for the falls folks, he will probably stay open until more like 5 or 5:30.
Well, I think there's a certain kind of place you expect to close at 3.
Yes.
Like Rita's closes, I think, at
Do we have a lender?
3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And
No.
Cascades, they all close.
To my knowledge, they own
Is
the building
capital-
outright.
Yeah.
Is
And
capital? in
No
this?
mortgage on the building.
Right.
Sorry.
And I'm just wondering, I didn't see 50,000.
778.
I didn't see 50,000 in assets here.
Which page
It's
you
at
looking at?
31. I'm just a little cautious on this one, as you can tell.
They own the building outright, so he's paying rent to himself. And I guess he's
Yeah.
splitting that with the cigar thing right here. splitting that.
Yes, Roy Brown will be paying rent as well.
So they'll both be paying rent to an entity they both own.
Right, so I think, I don't know, is he leaving, is Joe leaving the
No.
fish thing at
No,
all?
his son is gonna be the full-time operator.
Okay, so he's just dumping
Investor.
150,000 of his own money into it and just seeing how, okay.
Yeah, they do have rent in here.
Sarah, you were looking at his total, the cost for the equipment and fixtures. Is that what you're
Yeah.
looking at?
Page 6, it's 31,500.
There,
And I know,
I do think that it's a loan that we looked at very carefully because of some of the issues that you've raised.
yeah,
And I think that, there have been some issues that he's created in Greenport with the town that, certainly raised our attention to looking at this much more carefully.
Like what issues are?
With the, on behalf of the fish farm,
Okay.
he was negotiating the water agreement and
Oh.
was very adamant about his position versus the town's position, which in business, that's a normal.
then if you're trying to open a business.
Made a couple of the comments.
Yeah.
I don't have the paper for me. What does it say? What he's paying the rent himself? They had that marked out.
He'll be paying rent starting in the 6th month.
Even though-
I believe
What's the
it's
amount?
1,200.
1200. So like, I don't know, could we be in a position to say, all right, well, if you're not making all the money you thought you're making, stop paying rent to yourself and pay us first.
Well, we would foreclose or, I don't think you'd want that.
Well, Andy, you'd have to get a judgment against him, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
And it's not really, what would be the process in this? Because, I suppose we could ask for some, are we asking for any type of security interest in the equipment like we did with the restaurant?
We'll have a lien on all of the business assets, including inventory.
Okay, so you would, you'd first And how, the loan, the monthly payment is,
Monthly payment total is about 805.
so you'd either tell them to keep paying, making the payments, pay us off, or we'll go after you.
That's not in their profit and loss, is it?
The interest only shows up on a profit and loss.
Yeah, the principal
show
shows
interest?
up on
He
the balance sheet.
separates out exactly the interest from the loan payment, the principal payment. If you look. at-
Principal would show up on a cash flow statement, which would be the
Balance
monthly.
sheet, yeah.
Well, I don't see it on this.
Yeah, not
He
on
has
the
a,
P&L.
he has a monthly.
Yeah. Cash flow
For
statement.
year one, the cash flow, it should be in there as part of that Excel workbook.
But shouldn't it be in this?
Only interest shows up on a profit and loss. Principal is not deductible.
I don't know if it was just perfect timing, but I ran into Billy, who used to have the Italian market on the, right around the
Yeah,
corner.
yeah.
I ran into him 2 hours ago at
Ah,
Staples, and the people in front of me in line were also patrons of his. And like, oh, that's Billy. Like, I miss his food, and they loved it. And we are just talking about it. I think there's a market for this. Like, I'm okay with it. It's just, I just remember his market. He was doing well and he was crushing it, and people want, good sandwiches and stuff.
And it's also the bagel element,
Yeah.
which, just not for that, I don't want that to get lost as well, which is, kind of somewhat, at least, we're not in New York City, but. we're
Bagel
close.
Time was doing great too. I went there all the
Authentic bagels,
time.
yeah, and lox
That closed
and
after?
for those,
The whole building was gone right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah,
then-
I think there's
people
a
walk
small
in, get a
void.
dozen
and he could
bagels and
fill
the
it.
lox and the cream cheese, and that's, that's a good price point, a healthy price point at the cash register.
Well, and then, the next one is up in, Mineral.
Right.
Bagel
That was
Time?
the same
Yeah.
time.
There's
No,
one,
this-
there's one right by Walmart.
Yeah.
This one I figured, I
Drive
thought
through.
that's what they were talking about in this, I think.
Yeah.
That's who he's talking about in terms of comparable, price
Price
and
point.
some of the product.
But I'm just saying, as far as like the businesses go, like the one that was right here is gone now. So people have to go all the way that way. Now this place would be closer.
Yeah.
And that's a win for him as far as his business model goes.
And I think that, it's clear that his intent is to ramp up a broader, menu and things in the store than just bagels, but that's where he started.
So
We were talking to another gentleman today who has bagel shops in New York City. I said, gonna have muffins? He goes, nope, we're just gonna have bagels.
find your niche.
Where are they planning on getting their bagels from?
I believe the same place that's in.
Paul
Kennebec,
Calcac,
right?
in
Yeah.
Kennebec, yeah.
And we started, we helped start that business with a, what, $100,000 loan? It was pretty,
It was hefty.
yeah.
So as far as this point goes, do I ask for a motion to approve the loan request?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, as long as no one has any more questions.
Okay.
Yep.
And then we
Vote on it.
pass it on to the full board.
Right. Does anybody have any more questions about?
Just Sarah, I'm good.
Yep. Either of you guys have
No,
questions?
I'm good.
So can I get a motion to approve the loan request?
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
And you get to vote too.
Yeah, all right, so carried. Next on the list is Shady Acres Farm. loan
Okay.
request.
And this one also will have to go to the full board. Dan and Danielle Dunton own Shady Acres Farm in Canaan. This loan request came to us from the SBA, and it's very rare that we get a loan request that we bring to the board through the SBA. I think oftentimes people are just fishing, they're looking for $500,000. But in this case, it was a local farm. They knew exactly how much money they needed. And when I reached out to Danielle, she responded immediately, and she really has been a pleasure to work with. They want to expand their existing farm stand, and actually they can't expand the little shed that's there now because there isn't sufficient parking. This property is on both sides of County Route 22. So what they want to do is put an addition onto their existing barn, and they'll have a new driveway, a new parking area that will accommodate several cars. This will be heated, so they anticipate being open from April through December, and they'll be able to carry additional product. It's an honor system in the shed across the street, and they've had some losses, and they don't want to carry expensive items from other farms. So This farm doesn't generate a lot of income, but it feeds the entire family. They have a blended family, and that is substantial. And we think with this $50,000 loan, they will be able to increase the revenues from that farm stand and really improve their bottom line. They have secondary sources of income. They rent the original farmhouse across the street for $1,200 a month. Danielle receives child support, and she's also a traveling nurse. Last year, she made under $10,000, but this year she's been working full-time and anticipates making over $100,000 as a traveling nurse. They will be hiring 2 part-time people, at least during the summer months, and I'm guessing that probably at least one of them will be their children. They're homeschooled and maybe working at the farm as part of their education. I'm sure it is, in fact. They both have good credit scores. As I say, she's incredibly organized. I do think we're going to help her get up with 6 QuickBooks rather. They're currently using Square in the farm stand, but only for credit cards and Venmo purchases. None of the cash is going into Square. So she isn't even sure exactly how much that farm store generates. But going forward, we had her work with Brian's wife to generate projections, and I find them to be reasonable starting in 2022, and they're hoping to be open by April. I mean, I think they can still get holes in the ground.
This addition and parking lot would start now,
Yes,
they're building down.
yes, as long as we don't, have, yeah. $54,000 is what they're projecting for the first year, 62 in the second year, and 74 in the third year. And again, that really translates to a nice addition to their net income, the bottom line. So yeah, we're going to help them with some additional technical assistance if this loan is approved. The reason we did 10,000 and 40,000 is the SBA won't allow their money to be used to purchase or renovate a building or for new construction. And that's really what the bulk of the money is for. But $10,000 will be used for shelving, equipment, working capital. And so that's why we broke it up that way. We don't have a whole lot of farms in our loan portfolio, and I don't know, I really enjoyed working with the people thus far. Again, they feed themselves and they feed a lot of people out in that corner of the county. So I think it's a worthy project.
How long have they had the farm?
1996. And the property that where they live now on the right side of 22 had left the family's hands apparently, but he purchased it and they refinanced it, I think just last year, or was it this year even? Earlier this year. I
Just
think.
earlier this year.
That's the house that his great grandfather lived in, and that's where they're living now.
It was just a pleasure to read this one,
Oh,
because I feel it's like local and promoting local.
Yeah.
And I just think it was, I'm all for it.
Oh, good. I mean, there's a fair amount of debt, but they're current on everything and they're hardworking people, so I feel pretty encouraged.
That's what I was gonna ask, like, how's like the work ethic, like the vibe you feel from them, just like get down and dirty and. do a lot of
They
stuff?
already have an excavator on site. They are ready to like get into the ground. They just want to hear that the loan has been approved. They're investing 25,000 of their own money, so they're ready to pull the trigger. And also they had scaffolding on the side of the barn, so they're repainting. Yeah, they're working hard
Like
there.
true farmers, do it yourself type.
They are.
Yeah.
They really
I like that.
are.
You know what that is.
No, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm coming in from somewhere and I'm gonna like have a farm. This is like a storybook kind of thing. Like, no, like just.
You know, we had just been to Shadowbrook Farm a
Right.
couple of weeks before, which is truly pristine, but none of them make a living on that farm. They all work off the
Yeah.
farm. Dan works on the farm. And I've also been to some farms that are in pretty sad shape. And there was one in particular I was afraid to go to alone. This one is much closer to Shadowbrook. It's not pristine. They're working hard, but I think this will be a really nice addition.
And she's a US, a Navy veteran.
Yeah, the SBA really wants us making loans to veterans as well.
If she wants work, she might talk to the OFA, because they're always looking, I think, for nurses and traveling nurses. So maybe that's who she is with.
The difficulty locally is that traveling nurses are, work at St. Peter's and travel to Albany Med to be the traveling nurse and vice versa. And it used to be where someone from Atlanta who flew in and stayed in a hotel. It's
And she's her own business. She's incorporated, so she has to cover some of her own expenses and travel expenses, et cetera. It's not
Yeah.
like a W-2 job.
but that means she gets the full payment from the hospital, not
Particularly
what
if she's
the,
up in that
nurse
area.
employee
It's a
gets.
hard area to service where
yeah.
where they are. So put in a plug for that.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve this.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Public comment. That would be anybody, I guess, online or here who wants to talk about what we just covered, or
Let the record show that the only participants on the phone are Lisa and Andy Howard. Lisa, so she can open up the call.
I've done it.
Motion to adjourn.
any motion to adjourn?
Thanks, Andy.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
all right. That was good.